OGTV News on the Hour. I'm Shemilori Makoju. President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo are expected to receive COVID-19 vaccine doses on Saturday. Nigeria on Tuesday took delivery of 3.9 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine, the first batch of the 16 million expected through the World Health Organization-led COVAX facility. The government is expecting 129 million vaccine doses to vaccinate 70% of its population within 2 years. The consignment was received through the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja aboard Emirates Airlines. At the end of Tuesday's ceremonies to mark its arrival, a few vials of the vaccines were expected to be handed over to the National Agency for Food, Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, team for analysis between Wednesday and Thursday. The National Primary Healthcare Development Agency on Wednesday dispelled fears that people may not want to be vaccinated against COVID-19, noting that up to 2.3 million Nigerians have indicated an interest in taking the jabs. The NPHCDA Faisal shot midday on Monday when the e-registration platform was launched. In less than 24 hours, about 2.3 million Nigerians had registered, and that number continues to increase. The Federal High Court, Abuja, on Wednesday ordered a stay of proceeding in the ongoing trial of the former head of service, Mrs. Winifred Oyo-Ita, and others. Justice Taiwo in his ruling described the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC's act in obtaining an expert order for the freezing of bank accounts of the 4th, 5th, and 6th defendants in the matter before another court as an abuse of court process. Justice Taiwo would describe the EFCC's conduct as church shopping aimed at betting a favorable court judgment, said the anti-corruption agency's conduct was reprehensible and condemnable. The federal government has given approval for the establishment of dedicated subscriber identification model SWAP center by mobile network operators across the local government areas. This is according to a joint statement signed by the Director of Public Affairs at Nigeria Communications Commission, Dr. Ikechukwu Adinde, and the Head Corporate Communications, Mr. Kayode Adegoke. The statement listed the resolutions taken at the 4th review meeting held by the Ministerial Task Force on the National Identification Number SIM registration on Friday and chaired by the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Issa Pantami. Security forces have opened fire on anti-coup protesters in several cities and towns in Myanmar, killing at least 6 people and wounding several more, according to news agency and local media. The people were killed in the second biggest city of Mandalay on Wednesday, while at least 4 others were killed in the town of Mongoa in the central Sagaing region, witnesses said. A doctor told AFP news agencies one protester was shot in the chest in Mandalay, while another 19-year-old young woman was shot in her head. The Frontier magazine also reported the killing, saying police first used tear gas and rubber bullets at a crowd numbering in the thousands in Mandalay. They opened fire later when the crowds regrouped at the same place and resumed their sit-in protest, the publication said. Myanmar has been in chaos since February 7 when the military seized power in a coup and detained much of the country's civilian leadership, including leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Mikel Arteta says he is fully focused on doing much better at Arsenal after he was linked with the Barcelona manager's job. Reports surfaced in Spain this week claiming presidential candidate Joan was eyeing a move for Gunners boss Arteta if he won the race to return to Barca. It was during his previous spell in the role that La Porta appointed Pep Guardiola as the head coach and ushered in an era of sustained success. Arteta went on to work under Guardiola at Manchester City and took over as Arsenal manager in December 2019. Thank you so much for watching, and do have a lovely day. Bye for now.
Wonderful learners, welcome to another edition of Ogundiji class, powered by Universal Basic Education Commission in conjunction with Ogun Supeg. I am Odunayo Oshomo, your mathematics teacher. Today we'll be looking at square root. Remember, during our last lesson, I taught you something on square of numbers. And I told you when you multiply a number by itself, it will give you square of number, otherwise known as perfect square. But today, we are going to look at square roots. Now, our learning objective for this lesson, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to find the square roots of perfect square. 2, find square roots of perfect square using the factorization method. Then the last one, you should be able to solve problems involving squares. Now, square root of numbers. What is square root? The square root of a number is the factor that when multiplied by itself give the square number. This simply means that when you multiply 2 by 2, 2 times 2, and that it gives you 4. So the square root of that 4 is what? Is 2. Now look at what we have here. So if 8 times 8 equals to 64, then the square root of 64 is 8. So in maths, we can write this as 8 squared equals to 64, and the square root of 64 equals to 8. So the symbol denoting square root is this. So whenever you see this, you know we are talking about square root. These are examples of square roots of number. Let's quickly go through it. The first one, the square root of 4, is the same thing as the square root of 2 times 2, because 2 times 2 is also the result will give us 4. So it's still the same thing. We are still talking about the same thing. Now the square root will now be what? Will be 2. Look at the second one, the square root of 9. 9 is also 3 times 3 will also give us what? Give us 9. So the square root of 9 equals to 3. While the square root of 16 equals to what? Equals to 4. Like I told you the other time, when we are dealing with square of number, I told you when you start from 2, 2 times 2 will give you 4, 3 square will give you 3 times 3, which is 9, 4 square will give you what? 4 times 4, which is 16. So square root is more or less opposite of square. So if 5 times 5 gives you 25, now the square root of 25 will give you what? Will give you 5. As simple as that. And that is exactly what we have here. Square root of 49 is the same thing as square root of 7 times 7. They will just pick 1 out of it, and the result is 7. So, and that is what we have down here. 121 will give us 11 times 11 square root, which is equals to 11. Now the last one, the square root of 144 equals to square root of 12 times 12, and the result will give us what? 12. So otherwise, square root of 144 is 12. Good. Wow. Now let's look at this example. We have to simplify the square root of 121. Then number 2, we have to simplify the square root of 100. Now, to find the square root of 121, now the first thing you do is you look for a number that when you multiply it by itself, that will give you 121. Let's try 10. 10 times 10, 100. No, it's not up to 121. What about 11? 11 times 11. Good. 121. Very good. Okay? The square root of 121 is the same thing as the square root of 11 times 11. So in other words, 11. So just as the definition implies, the square root of 121 is the same thing as square root of 11 times 11. And our final answer is what? 11. As simple as that. Good. Now let's look at the second one. The square root of 100. You just look at a number. You find a number that when you multiply it by itself, that will give you 100. You apply the knowledge of square of number, which otherwise known as perfect square. Good. Now, to get 100, when you multiply 10 by itself, it will give you 100. So, this is the same thing as 10 times, okay, 10 times 10. So what will be our final answer now? 10. Very good of you. Our final answer is 10. Good. Wow. Square root of